person like in real time. However, we have two gentlemen who could be able to. A young man said he's self-taught, and being self-taught is amazing. However, I feel that academia is important because when you go to film programs, they teach you more than just the film aspect. You learn the business aspect as well, and you can be great at creating films, but be bad at business. Be great at creating films and not know how to get the equipment to actually sustain and be able to build your home. So, with that being said, I wanted to connect them and find people who I knew would be able to help them because I don't have at this time, the schedule to be able to sit down and go over everything.
But you do have the contact.
But I had the contact for you. Yeah. So I think that was cool. Thank you. But we all helped them still.
Yes, we did.
Encouraged them in this space, and we had different perspectives, but he still left out a whole person. And that's the intention. We want to make sure our youth are whole when they leave.
So in other words, what you're saying is we got to be community based. See, we don't live in a community now.
That village mindset.
We live in a neighborhood. We don't really live in a community. The reason why I say it is because I can sit here right now in my neighborhood in Birmingham, where I grew up in. I can name every family in my neighborhood. I guess this comes from going to an all-black school, all-black church, all-black teachers, and we all did everything collectively. All the neighbors looked out for each in the community, looked out for each other. Where now you have a lot of elderly people that don't want to talk to young people. But I want to talk to everybody. The 3-year-old, the 6-year-old, the 30-year-old, the 90-year-old. I want to talk to everybody.
Some of them are afraid.
Because I enjoy a conversation. But if we lived in the community, then we could see that there's no reason for you to feel me. I'm here to help you.
But I think some of the elderly are afraid because the respect has been left by the wayside. So some of the young folk, and now you, as gentlemen in my community, if you tell me, Corey, whatever you're doing, I don't like it, and you check me, I'm going to respectfully say, you know what, thank you, I'm going to change that. However, there's some young folk, if you try and check them or tell them to change their ways, they'll come back at you in a way, and they may even get physical. So a lot of elderly actually are now more timid, and they're afraid to actually to correct.
That's where we lost the community. Because, see, learning begins in the home.
Absolutely.
Learn all this stuff about teacher gonna straighten my child out. If you can't straighten him out, what makes you think the teacher gonna straighten it out?
That's true.
When I was growing up, we sitting in church. You know how kids are in church. We all back there talking. All one of them old women or men had to do was look back there.
Oh.
That was it. You see everybody straightening it up.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody goes to straighten it up.
A little bit.
We're all filling up
right.
the list going, yeah.
So we have to get back to where the children look at us as protectors. And then they'll protect us. But as long as we talking about the old children doing it, we're just not getting it. We are failing them.
Let me piggyback on what he just said. I remember growing up Willow Street, Northville, not far from here. In fact, across the street from Carver Center, what was the bar next to me? The Citizen Club.
Yeah.
Remember the Citizen Club?
Next to what?
Yeah, right next to me. I grew up for 17 years. I knew my grandmother, everybody knew my grandmother. Like you said, everybody in the neighborhood, all the kids we went to junior high, all this. In fact, my mother and father, they were to junior high. So everybody was connected. And I could play out in front of the house and hear nothing, because the neighbors are there.
Right.
And stuff like that. That isn't there now. But also we had to respect elders, like you said. We've never gotten to a grown-ups conversation. Never.
Wow.
If you never even thought about it. Because if you had to come in here while we were talking, and a child came in here, and they got in the conversation, the close one with
But you knew better, because you knew you were going to get that. And it's nothing matter with being in your place.
Yeah.
Because then you can make a place for somebody else.
That's true.
There was a clear-cut distinction between adults and children. And we had to respect all adults. No back talking to adults. None of that. And so we had a chance to learn instead of, trying to block everything. It's different now. We had a program at the college for dealing with kids in the juvenile justice system. and they convinced me to take this over. I was reluctant to do that because I'm not used to kids cussing me out and all that stuff. That's not me. It's not me, you know. So they had to do a whole lot of things to convince me to do this. Okay, so I go in there and we start off with guys. So I have about 8 guys in my class and all of that, and I had a big table, and so here we go. And, one of the first things is one of the Spanish guys asked me, "How do we know you're going to tell us the truth?" That's a big question. I said, "Okay, here's the deal. I guarantee you, I will tell you the truth, even if you don't want to hear it." That's why I always tell people, don't ask me questions you don't want the answer to. I'll tell you the truth, painful as it may be, but it educates you. If you don't know the truth, then you can't make good decisions. And I said, but now, once I said, I'm going to tell you the truth, guess what you have to do? You have to tell me the truth now. So we're both operating in a realistic environment. Okay? So I said, that's how we're going to do this. I'm going to respect you, you're going to respect me. You know, this is how we're going to work. I'm old school, I told him. I'm not slick and smart and, trendy and all that. I'm old school. I guarantee you'll learn a lot more when you leave this class than you did when you came in.
Well, I'm like this. Like he's running for mayor. I've seen a lot of mayors in Trenton. But I haven't seen any mayor in this city that really had a vision for the city, from what I've seen. Because I haven't seen anything that he brought to the city. I haven't seen any major changes in the city. I don't see life getting better in the city. Say if I lived in Pennsylvania, I don't see any reason to move to Trenton. I don't see any reason to come to Trenton for dinner. I can't come to see a show. They don't have a movie theater. But everybody can tell you what they're going to do until they get to be the mayor. Now, this is my pledge from Mr. Daniels from Birmingham, Alabama, student of Dr. Martin Luther King. If this young man runs for mayor, I'm going to work for him. I'm going to do him the way they treated Mayor Arrington, the first black mayor in Birmingham, Reverend Abraham Woods. A young black girl got killed, the police killed her. The mayor was named Siebert, and the Reverend Abraham Woods, Reverend Fred Shuttlesworth, and so forth and so on, they did not like the way the mayor reacted to the shooting. So they told him, well, you don't have to be the mayor in Birmingham. So that's when they got together and said, we're going to run. And Mayor Arrington was a professor at the college, at Miles College, right outside Birmingham and Fairfield. We're going to run him for mayor. But he was living in Birmingham, but he worked out there. So that's going to be the next mayor. Then they went and told him, you are running for mayor.
Oh, okay.
You are running for mayor.
Nice.
And he became the mayor.
Wow.
And he had vision for the city. He brought a lot of change. But that was their man. But when he was a little lax or slow doing something, they was all over him. They was, and then the next day, they was all over him. But then when he did something good, they was all, and that's where I'm going to do him. If the good Lord let me live. I'm going to work. I'm letting them know now. I'm going to work with him. Right. I keep up a lot of noise.
You heard that?
I go anywhere at any time. I talk to anybody. There's nothing bashful about me. Nothing whatsoever.
Well, I already heard good things about you.
So I'm letting you know.
That park over on Oakland?
Yes.
You were out there advocating to get that park opened up. You were out there cleaning, doing more than the young folk were doing to help our community. So, I mean, that means a lot to me.
Well, I'll go anywhere at any time where I can be of help.
Yeah.
But if you want honesty,
we need that.
If you ask me a question, I'm going to tell you my honest opinion. I'm not going to sugarcoat it.
Right.
And to make you look good, I'm just going to answer honestly.
So I don't want folks to think out there I was being distracted. I was texting because I am a millennial on my phone or on Facebook. I was just pulling up the questions today for our program.
So you got your Facebook.
Amen. Glory be to God. I like that.
We'll go along with that.
Yeah.
We'll go. I'll put my hand up.
Okay.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask y'all a question. Go ahead, Professor. What?
So that first note of vision.
Vision.
City.
Yes.
Because he's so right. I've dealt with lots of politicians.
Yeah.
New Brunswick. When I went to Rutgers, New Brunswick wasn't as thriving as Trent was.
Right.
Or as big. But what they did, they had a mayor that had a vision.
Yeah.
And he literally, I was still a college student, and we wanted to talk to the mayor, and he met with us.
Mm.
And he told us the vision.
Yeah.
And then years later, he completed it.
Yeah.
You know, they got rid of the slum area that was south of George Street. And now they got condos and townhouses and hotels and all of that
They
sort of
really
stuff
hooked it
there.
up.
Yeah. They moved the river over to put Route 18 in and pushed all that water back, and now they have a highway right along the side that used to be underwater. All of that. They worked with Johnson & Johnson. They worked with the State Department of Transportation. What's there? Robert Wood Johnson. And then the College of Rutgers. All of those people, he brought all those people together, got them to buy into it, and New Brunswick was
So
prosperous.
once I officially, I'll say this, because I have a vision, obviously, for the city, and I have goals that we plan to accomplish. But my official announcement is going to be on Sunday, January 18th. So I'll let the entire community know on January 18th what my vision is for the city with my platform.
Let me just ask you one thing without asking you your vision on your platform. Who is the party backing you, or looking at you, or are you coming as an independent?
So I'll say, I am a son of the city. I'll say that I'm not currently a part of the machine, right?
Okay.
However, I'm a son of the city. I'm from the community.
Okay.
I was born on the boulevard, raised on Boot Mountain. So if you have the people, whatever else is out there, it's gonna fall in line. And I say that respectfully because I have the people. You talk about Oakland and Hoffman, I live off Oakland, right? You talk about areas in the community like the Boulevard, well, my family's from there. So the people in the community know who Corey Isaiah McNair is, and they know the work he's done. I always tell people, it's nice to have support from the bigger entities, but I always tell folks, I'm not trying to convince you to vote for me. I want you to go and do your own research about me because I can tell you a whole fairy tale, right? However, the proof is in the pudding. If you go online and type in Corey Isaiah McNair, it's going to give you back good results or bad results. And the work I've done speaks for itself. Respectfully, the larger entity will see exactly who I am. I'll say that. But traditionally there is a way to do things, but sometimes you have to.
Well, there's a way to
interrupt
do
things
things, but
sometimes.
the way to do things in this town is not working. Because there's nothing.
Wait, what is the definition of
we,
insanity?
we just go right around the corner. What's around the corner? A bunch of abandoned buildings.
What is it saying? Insanity is what?
Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting
Yeah.
Expecting different results. So it's time to switch some
In
things
other
up.
words, it's broke and it's fixed.
Here we go.
You
All right.
know, man.
Yes.
See, we know,
We'll stay there for a minute. Okay.
I know the mayor can't do everything. I
Okay.
got sense enough to know that.
Yeah.
But this is what I call vision, that a lot of people don't know. A lot of black people don't know.
Yeah.
That Atlanta airport that they have in Atlanta, Georgia,
Yes.
that airport was supposed to be in Birmingham, Alabama.
Really?
They were supposed to build an international airport in Birmingham, Alabama.
Wow.
But the reason why they couldn't build an airport because the blacks and the whites was fighting because the whites didn't want the blacks to participate in it.
Mm.
They wanted to run the whole show. They fighting for civil rights and so forth. So now, Maynard Jackson, Andrew Young, and all of them get together, and they get the money to build that airport. There's no tax money in that airport. The federal government didn't put any money in that airport. The money for that airport come off of Wall Street.
Mm.
They went to Wall Street and got that money. That's how they built that airport in Atlanta. That's vision.
Wow.
And you have to have that, and you have to have your plans. You can convince people. You really can. You have a good plan, you can convince people. Now there are obstacles,
Of course.
but you can convince people. You can get people to work together. If you really know what you're doing, and you're sincere about it, you can convince them. And like you said, and this so-called machine in Trenton, that sounds disparaging.
Right.
I really don't.
Right.
But I've seen machines. And this is the
You,
one of
you said they ain't a good machine.
We machine. I'm a machine myself.
Amen. Look, I like
We
that.
machine.
Listen,
We
I
gonna
like
knock
that.
on every door.
Well, the machine,
Amen.
remember the machine in Trenton had a hell of a Halloween party. Okay? I'm gonna leave it alone.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna leave it alone.
Okay,
They
get
had a
started
hell of a
now.
Halloween.
Wait,
They didn't say boo.
We're going to segue into our first, because listen, they're the elders. They can say whatever they want to say. I'm still, I'm still coming up in the world. They can just say whatever they want, but that was a good segue. So my question
What's wrong is just factual.
listen,
I can pull it up on my
facts,
phone right now. I have that much skill today. I can pull it up on my phone right now and go like that.
Yeah.
I want to know who booed and who didn't.
So somebody
For $125,000. Tell me. We're gonna talk about it tomorrow on the podcast.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna let you go. Okay, but we gonna talk. Are we then? We're gonna talk about that tomorrow.
Listen, y'all speaking up.
Oh yeah.
So my question, so the topic of today's conversation is teach a man how to fish, right? We have fishing poles. I think, when we look at the foundation, my question to you all would be, first, who taught you all how to be a man? When the system wasn't built for you. And y'all came up during the time when the system, I'm talking about the machine and the system for me. And in 2025, I can't even imagine when you all were 36 and 37 years old, what it was like for you all when you were trying to reach certain heights. And I'm sure there were barriers in place. But going back to the question, who taught you how to be a man when the system wasn't for you?
My father.
But times were different.
My father.
Yeah.
My father was a real man.
Yeah.
I had 6 brothers.
Yeah.
And 6 sisters. And I was the youngest. My father never raised his voice at any of us.
Wow.
He only got upset if he came home.
Yeah.
And my mother was upset.
Mm.
Then he was upset.
Okay.
He worked in the coal mine for 42 long years.
A real man.
Real man.
Right.
The only time the man didn't go to work was when he was sick. And the doctor had to keep him out there. He got black lung disease at 58 and they retired. But they had to get the doctors from Tuskegee to prove that they had black lung disease because the company said that they had TB. Black lung disease is coal dust on the lung. That's what it is. My dad worked in the coal mine for 42 years and he led by example. He carried us to church.
Wow.
We ate every evening together, not breakfast, because when I got up to go to school, he was going to work. But every evening we ate together and we talked. And then on Saturdays, he might take me wrestling or he'd go up on the park with us or whatever.
Yeah.
My dad told me everything I needed to know about being a man.
Well, that's
My
why you are
mama
who you
told
are
me
today.
everything I needed to know by taking care of myself in the house.
Yeah.
That's where I learned.
Amen.
My dad was my hero.
Wow.
And to piggyback on that, there were men and there were uncles.
Okay.
Okay.
So when you don't have a dad, you have an uncle.
That's right. I was raised by a single mother.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, I still fear her, and she's dead.
Wow. She ain't play no games.
Catherine got to the point where she stopped going like that and just pop you.
Oh, okay.
All right? So you imagine I must have been a mess.
Right.
But that structure was there.
Yeah.
I never worried about where Dad was because Uncle Eddie or Uncle this or that or cousin this that was older or even the guy next door. Okay, Mr. Spooner, Mr. Moses, they would step up to the plate. No, you never been doing that, boy. All right, so you had support from all over.
I like that because I always say, even in my life, so growing up here, young black man in the community, my mom was 16 when she had me, and my parents were young, right? Mm-hmm. And I look at God when I have this conversation, but in every area where there was a deficit for me, being a young black man from the real hood, like really experiencing the real Trenton, wherever there was lack, God always sent someone to fill that void, right? So when I didn't understand, my family were living paycheck to paycheck. They didn't know about investments and stocks and bonds and all of that. They didn't even know about getting loans for the most part. So wherever there was a deficit, God always sent somebody to fill it and to show me how to do things in His timing, right? So I just wanted to jump in and say that. But for you, who was the one that showed you how to be a man or taught you how to be a man?
It was a collective.
Okay.
First of all, I was raised by my grandmother.
Yeah.
And she was a hard-working woman.
Yeah.
Domestic. Yeah. And she took care of me and my uncle, who was 10 years older than me. My father was out and about. Yeah. And so the person that I patterned myself after was my uncle. He was married to my father's older sister, but he was like the father figure for me. Like you said, hard-working man. He always worked all the time. Sometimes he'd have 2 jobs. Sometimes he had 3 jobs. You know, for his family. Always worked. Hard-working man. You know, involved in Shiloh Baptist Church. He's one of the deacons. You know, if we needed anything, he's the person we would go to. No nonsense now. He didn't play with you. He did not play with you. But he would talk to you. He'd take interest in you. I remember one time, I needed this book. And this was, what, 60 years ago? And this book cost $40-some 60 years ago.
Wow.
I called him. He came from Trenton, took his money, and brought me up and gave him money so I could buy this book. You know, he was there for me. I know he would risk his life for me.
Come on now, Miss Wayne. You got me over here getting emotional too. Wow, that's good. That's love. That's what he did.
You know, so anytime I'm dealing with children, and there's a question, I said, what would Uncle walk to? And I'd always get it right. My younger brother came to stay with me. He was a teenager. Oh, we had a good time. You know, but he was a piece of work. But anytime I had a question, I said, now, what would Uncle walk to? And I would see what he would do and get it right. So,
Uncle Walk.
Yeah.
Different caliber of men back then.
Yeah, right. They really.
I mean, it's not that some men are still like that, but most of the men that you ran into were like that. Whether they knew you or not, they saw you doing wrong. They grabbed you.
Get you together.
Yeah.
Wow.
They had a broom in their hand, beat you behind.
Yes, they would. And
Take
take
you home and tell your mother I whooped you.
Oh yeah?
Oh yeah. And then you turn around, Captain, whoop you again.
Everything in my neighborhood was community. It was community based, like everybody knew everybody. Cause my dad's house sit here. My mother's brother lived next here. In the back of her house was my dad's brother. Down the street was my mother's sister. Right. 2 blocks away was my grandmama, like that. All around like that. Plus the men in that area, they worked in the coal mine and the steel mill, or either they had a business or school teacher, something like that. Right. But it was a collective. It was collective, and everybody respected everybody. So that's why, in order to have less problems, you have to have respect. Right. If you don't have respect, it's not going to work. You just have to have respect. Right. And I have to take every day I get a chance, I have to take my cap off to black women, because I don't know where black men would be today if it wasn't for black women. I know. If it don't be for black women today, I don't know what black men would be doing. Right. And when I hear these black men get on these podcasts and talk against these black women, I want to grab one of them and choke him. I'm just telling you the truth. Right. Because if God kept anything in heaven better than a black, I don't believe it. Wow. I don't believe it.
And so I'll end off that question. Just tell my experience. So I mentioned I was born to 2 teenage parents. My mother was 16, my father was 17. And at 9 months, I went to live with my father and his parents. So first 9 months, I was with my mother and her mother, and my grandmother had 11 children. So you can just imagine, there's a lot of folks that was in that house. And then I went from North Trenton on Boulevard to West Trenton on Bootnot, and now I'm in a house that is a little different. So I had my grandmother and grandfather there as the leaders in the house, and then my father and his siblings. So the blessing for me was I was able to see the example of a family unit. And you mentioned your mother and your father and your dad went to work. My grandfather was already retired. However, I got an example to see what a real man, in real time, what a real man was. So he worked for General Motors, and he had to retire early due to this. However, I knew as a kid, I'm watching this, when his check came every month, when his pension came, my grandmother got the money. And she covered all the bills. She made sure that, she went grocery shopping. She made sure everything was good. And then she kind of gave him an allowance out of his money. And he was content with that. But they owned their home as well. So when things went in the home, they were responsible for repairing it, right? So they were responsible for changing the light bulbs and changing the windows and doing the front porch over. And so as a kid, I'm watching this, right? And not really knowing in that moment what's happening. But when I became an adult, that's the way I think now, right? So when I moved out of the home, I went to college and stayed on campus. When I actually moved out of my home, the first thing I got was a home. I bought a home, right? I didn't move into an apartment. I bought a home because I saw the example. They were homeowners. They had a small little house on Route 9, right? It was in a mansion, however, they took care of it. It was theirs. I knew what it was, when the insurance man would come, right? And they would, it was once a month, and they would give me the insurance money. My grandmother would call around my dad and my uncles and bring your money. It may only have been $25 they were bringing for the policy for the month. However, I saw that, right? And so when I what it is to be a man, I had the best example because my grandfather was there and they got my dad together. I went to Sacred Heart initially on Broad Street for a few years, and they made sure that he was paying that tuition. They held him accountable. So they were young, but we had great elders. We had great folks who led that process. And so I'm so blessed because I know I am where I am today because of what my grandparents did and what they instilled in father, what they instilled in me, what they instilled in the family. So that's who taught me how to be a man. When I think about even my grandmother's still living, and you talk about black women, I'm a police officer. I work a bunch of overtime, right? And you would think that I would be smart enough to go and get food on my own, but she knows I can be a little tight sometimes. And she always says, son, don't be tight with yourself. But then she'll call me and say, stop by and get a plate. So I'm working 8-hour shifts, 16-hour shifts, and my grandmother is the one in the kitchen cooking, making sure I eat and I'm nourished to this day. So that's real, for me, that's inspiration, right? That's a role model. Yeah.
She gonna do that. She
gonna do it regardless, right? But
she gonna do that.
Yeah.
Proud of you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My family, they let me know that they're proud of me.
You really made something of yourself. Yeah.
They let me know that every day.
One thing about a woman, she love a man that's about something. You're not about something. The best kept secret is how the black woman has treated her son and spoiled him. You done got up on your behind and went forward. Grandma love you.
You have to give people a reason to love you.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they gonna start off loving you, but it's up to you to keep that love. You gonna have to do something.
And Lord have mercy, he might get 2 plates if he can let him back.
Listen, there we go. Actually, sometimes she'll send me 2, so I might get 3. I always say, send me something tomorrow for lunch. Wow, that from your mouth to God's ears, a prayer that happens.
But let me make a quick comment. When I moved back here from California, because my mother passed away, and as soon as I got back, my aunts all jumped on me and they all called me son. So every time I went to the house, I had to eat something. So I gained a quick 10 pounds. And I think the first month I was back here, everybody was cooking. In fact, my aunt Alice, I had gone over her house after she had already fed everybody. And she's gonna cook again just because I said, no, don't do that. Just I'll come back tomorrow at dinner time. You don't have to cook anything special for me. But all of the women, especially in my family, all my aunts, there were 13 kids my grandmother had. And 9 of them were female. So they all cooked, and so I had a lot of mothers, and I was very close to all my aunts. I'm dropping them off and picking them up and taking them to the doctors and all this stuff, and the kids loved that.
And they threw down too. They answer yours. They threw down. I ate.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I know it well.
Okay.
Oh, they threw down. It's called the Johnson Family Buffet.
Oh yeah.
The Johnson Family
It
Buffet.
had a signature all of its own. You go somewhere and say, Yolanda cooked that. I can tell by the way you know. Yeah. But it was a Johnson Family Buffet. You can tell. Oh my God. I got hungry thinking about it.
You sound like family reunion.
Listen, that's amazing. So, all right, so we're going to move on to the next question. We have about 15 more minutes left. And this is for the black man, right? And this is for men in general, but we're going to talk about black men because we're in a space where there's black men. What part of yourself did you have to silence in order to survive? Because often we think about, I had a program with my nonprofit yesterday, and it was about trauma that men and women have experienced. It was actually related to domestic violence and sexual assault. However, one lady on the program, she actually is an elected official here in Trenton, she spoke about not allowing someone to take her voice. And often we hear, black men, and even in relation to law enforcement, that they need to stay silent because if they speak up and if they're too passionate, it's perceived as something different, as a threat, right? So I don't know how your parents or how your families raised you, but have you ever had to silence yourself or bite your tongue in order to survive? And what does that look like? I know you said you always been opinionated, Mr.
No, I never bite my tongue. I had quite a few run-ins with the police when I was growing up.
Okay.
And this is like, okay, we only saw the police if we went in certain areas.
Okay. Oh, so they weren't in your immediate neighborhood.
You could call the police all night long, they wasn't coming.
Wow.
Now, if you're lucky, they might ride through at 3 o'clock in the evening. Just ride through the, down the main street. But as far as policing, no. Because one time a house caught fire in my neighborhood and it's still burning. Fire department.
Wow, never came.
The fire department ain't got that yet. So,
Wow.
So you only had interactive with the police when you went into certain areas. But they wouldn't bother you though.
Okay.
Like say I'm walking through a white neighborhood. Well, the reason I'm up there, I'm looking for a job, trying to cut some grass or something, and they know that. And they know that. And they wouldn't bother you. So you would see them in the white area, but you wouldn't see them in the black because they wasn't coming. They just was not coming. But now one time we did have an encounter with a policeman, and we had been over in Hensley. They had walked over in the section of Birmingham, Hensley, and we was walking back, and the police asked us, because I'm ahead, it was 4 of us, asked me, he said, where y'all been? I said, walking. He said, walking where? I said, back there. Then the other 3, when they saw I was talking to, see, I had seen it was 2 policemen. One had gone behind the building. But the other 3 guys were with me, of course, cousins, so they didn't see the police. So then he said, he asked them where they been. They said, walking. I said, well, back there, because that's what we had, just been walking. So then he asked me again, he said, what's your name? I said, George Daniel. He said, where you coming from? I said, back there. I've been walking. So he told me I was a smarty,
So
smart.
in my head, I'm thinking that's what he was saying.
Now, I know the other policemen back there.
Yeah,
but they don't know.
They don't know.
So then he hit his pistol, right? He hit his pistol, like.
Yeah,
like
he tapped it. Wow.
Yeah, and he said, I should take this pistol off if we're 4 of y'all. I said, you want to take? Now we 16.
Yeah.
He's gonna take. All us 16, and we first cousins. He gonna take the pistol off and whoop all 4 of us. That can't happen. So I said, well, what about the policeman behind the building?
You asked that question?
Yeah, is he gonna take his
You
pistol?
always been ahead of your time.
Is he gonna take the pistol off? So then he told me, that's when he told me I was a smart nigga.
Yeah.
And then another policeman came from behind the building. And then we walked on. They said, go ahead like that. And we just walked on home. But then I saw him again in 1963 when the 16th Street Baptist Church got bombed. I saw him, a friend of mine.
You were there for that?
Huh?
You were there for the
When they
bombing?
killed the four.
Yeah, we was having breakfast.
So we got history in the room right now.
We was having breakfast.
Listen,
Wow.
that's what we do here.
Okay, we was having breakfast. And he said, when they had the riot,
Yeah.
a guy named Walter, I ain't gonna tell you his last name.
Yeah.
He said, you remember the police that you call you? I said, yeah. He right back there in that alley. Okay.
Wow.
End of story.
Okay. Okay. We only want to ask what else happened. So how about you? Have you ever had to bite your tongue in a workplace or?
Oh,
No?
No. I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
I was training this white boy.
Yeah.
And I was the chef manager. But I was training this white boy. I said, well, I don't know what you think you are. I'm making $5 more than you.
Oh, okay.
Well, I went in the office and I told the manager, I said, tell you what, you call Ken Piscofini and you tell him, raise my salary now or everybody in this kitchen will walk out. I got this. My next check, I have made more than the white.
Oh, yeah. You got the real men in the room, huh?
No, not in New Jersey. You have to bite your tongue because it was no different here than it was down south.
Wow.
You knew your place, but if you stayed in your place, you didn't get anywhere. And if you were right, you depended on me. I'm gonna go, just like I told them. I'm coming in the office with you and sit with you because when I get up, you get up because I know why I'm getting up. You getting up just agitating people. So you see, you have to speak up.
Yeah.
You just can't let people walk all over you. And if you think somebody else is gonna do 2 or 3 jobs, then you can fire me. I've been fired from many a job for my mouth, but it didn't make any difference.
Right.
Because see, God makes a way. Because I was right. You're not gonna walk over me, and I had children.
Right.
No.
You're the example for the kids.
No. It's not gonna happen. And I have a skill. And you can't take that skill away from me. And somebody will always want that skill.
How about you?
I was very lucky. The adults, I had the extended family, so aunts and uncles, cousins, grandparents, all that. And they always told me that I could do anything I wanted to do, could be anything I wanted to be. And I believed them. Now, I didn't know they were lying to me until I had this epiphany. I was in Hong Kong, up in the hills, looking down at the bay, beautiful, like in the movies. They had the lights, they had all of that, it's beautiful hills, and everything was green and lush. And I said, I can't believe I'm in this beautiful place, doing these things that I could only dream about, because I believed I could do anything and be anybody I wanted to be, I made it happen. It never occurred to me that I couldn't do these things, and I always spoke up for myself. I remember in the Army, I was very lucky again. I had a whole stream of luck. I was in the Presidential Honor Guard in Washington, D.C. So we were at the White House and Capitol Hill, the Pentagon, all that sort of stuff. We met people from heads of state. We were at, Trump went to build this beautiful ballroom at the White House. We went to the ballroom when it was much smaller. But we were there and we met dignitaries from other countries there. And especially if somebody of color came in, they would snatch all the black people, which wasn't a whole lot of them, and send us there so that some of the African dignitaries or the Asian dignitaries could see we had people of color working at the White House. Okay? I remember there were some friends of mine from down south in the Army. And this one guy used to tell me, he said, white, like you white. And I said, no, I talk to them just like I'm human. And so my points of view and my opinions are just as good as theirs.
That's right.
Now that has upset a lot of people. One job I had, the first job I had in the Bay Area, I was working for a defense contractor, which was great because I already had a security clearance because I worked at the White House. I was very straightforward. And so I made a mistake, I found out later. The vice president had invited me out to lunch. He came to my office and invited me to lunch, which I thought was fantastic. I couldn't go that day because I had another commitment. I had another commitment. He thought that was insulting, that I would not stop what I'm doing. I'm sure he thought if Jesus Christ was coming, I should have put that on hold and went out to him. He held that against me after that. Then this one guy told me that he wanted to speak Franco. And I said, okay. And he said, you're getting the reputation of being an uppity N-word.
Oh, okay.
I said, oh, okay. I said the same thing. I said, okay, let's talk like we both grown here. This is not the first time I've heard the term.
Yeah.
It's not the first time it's been applied to me.
Okay.
Okay? But just for the record, let's say that they're right. I'm an uppity N-word.
And you're speaking to him in real time. You're talking to him. Okay.
I'm uppity N-word. If this is what you think I am, let's work with it. Okay? Yeah. Okay. I'll go with that. I think it's inaccurate, but I'll go with that if we can function. If you wanted somebody to kiss your butt hard, you picked the wrong one. And I've mentioned that even before I got the job to the boss. I said, I want to tell you the truth. I'm going to respect you. I expect to be respected. I'm going to work very hard. But if you want somebody to blow smoke up your whatever, I'm not the one.
So y'all were demanding respect before it was appropriate to actually demand respect.
I'm not the one. It was appropriate because remember this.
Technically,
Everything that has happened to this race, they had to pass a law.
Mm.
Civil Rights Act, Voting Act,
Yeah.
this, that. Other than that, the white man wasn't hearing it. And this DEI and all this is the shame of it. And I'm gonna tell you what. In my view, ACLU needs to be a little more pushy. NAACP needs to be a little more pushy. Okay, on this because everything and white guy, I'll tell you, all that we getting ready to get rid of all that. And look how many people died, how many people were actually stripped from the working force because of the fact of what we're saying right now.
Yeah.
But the only reason why we say it, we have to remember, most of our interactions came after 1964 into the 70s. My interaction that I explained, that was way in the 80s. And you still had to straighten them white folks out.
And that's
let
why
them know that I'm not going to do that.
So as a young man, I want to take this opportunity to say thank you, right, to the three of you. I'll tell my story. However, my story is the way it is because we stand on your shoulders. You weren't afraid in Birmingham, Alabama, to speak to a man that could have taken your life.
I was a man that was black.
Mm.
I was a man first. See, I'm a man first.
Yeah.
But I'm black, but I am a black man. Not, when you say there's Daniel, a black man. No. There's Daniel's a man that is black.
Yeah.
I am a man first wherever I go. I'm 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
I don't bend down.
Right.
I walk with my head in the air because I'm thankful to be alive. I'm thankful to be here.
Yeah.
I'm a thankful person.
Yeah.
I'm a joyful person. I enjoy life. I have no anger for anyone, and I don't believe in beating up people and all that. But if you hit me, I'm going to hit you back. And if I think you're going to hit me, I'm going to try to hit you first. But that is how I live. But I love children. I love black women.
Yeah.
Not for girlfriends,
Right.
but black women.
Yeah.
I have the utmost respect for black women and black men.
Right.
I want everybody to know that. When you see me coming, I mean you no harm.
Amen.
If I can't help you, I'm not going to hurt you.
Wow. And once again, thank you. Like I said, thank you for standing up and being role models for me. Even at 37, I'm hearing these things and I'm like, wow, these guys were doing this. They were in the fight before I knew what a fight was. So thank you.
And whether we wanted to be or not, we didn't have a choice.
You didn't have a choice.
You still been making $5 an hour.
Yeah, right. And you went and demanded $5 more an hour.
Got more than 5.
You got more than 5.
Not more than 5.
I have to go and pick some people up. But I
I
want to
was
leave
smart.
y'all with this.
Yeah.
The riot that they had in 1968,
about?
I was in the heart of it, right here in Trenton.
And Trent.
That's when that young man named Holland Joseph got killed, the police killed him.
You mentioned that earlier.
I was there. So,
In 68.
can't nobody tell me.
And so I'll end this question. I'll give my response, and then we'll move on to the last question, and we'll be done for this program. One of my mentors in law enforcement, and I won't mention their name or even their gender, but they told me that when they were working in law enforcement, they were very radical, right? And so they thought that they had to fight. They had to fight the system. They had to fight against the system. And we're having a conversation. This is 30 years later since they started that fight. And he said, if I could do it all over again, I would have fought smarter and not harder. Because there's a way you can be able to dismantle things without letting the opposition or the other side know you're dismantling, right? And so I carry that with me. Because if people can see, and this is a different generation, y'all had to do y'all thing differently because y'all were fighting against, like, some real systems, right? But for us, I'm learning, if you don't give the man or show your left hand what your right hand is doing, they'll think you're on board, right? When really, you can work on really their heart and showing them that, there's ways you can be able to dismantle without in their face showing them that you're dismantling. That makes sense. And I've learned that from my mentor, and it's actually worked. Now sometimes you gotta call somebody out. You gotta pull them out. If there's a situation where there's someone that's being offensive or someone's trying to maybe even set you up because someone's hiding in an area and they're waiting for you to respond, or even they're just flat out doing you wrong, you will have to speak up. However, there's other ways to fight, and I think about that in law enforcement when I teach young black men. How do you advocate for yourself? And I always talk about safe stops, right? It's like when you get pulled over by police, especially as a black man in an inner city community, and there may be some preconceived notions about who this person is. And so I'll say this, and we'll move on to the last question. I'll say this, we'll dismiss you so you can go handle your affairs, and then we'll move on to the last question. When you are stopped by law enforcement in the community, right, whatever community that is, there's there's some steps you should take. First, a lot of our young guys have blacked out cars, tinted windows, right? So when you're pulled over, and I know most folks, when the cops walk up, they're like, why you pull me over? They want to start advocating in real time for themselves. They feel like they're being violated, their rights are being violated. I always say, not right now, right? So gather as much information as you can without really asking any questions. So you're pulled over, your windows are tinted. You roll down all the windows. So now, whoever the law enforcement officer is walking up to your car, they have no reason to say, I can't see, right? I can't see in the car. Make it even better. Light the interior of your vehicle. Cut the lights on. So now, when they come, the windows are rolled down. The interior of the vehicle is actually lit. And last but not least, put your hands on the steering wheel. Mm-hmm. So now, no one can say you were reaching for anything because my hands are on the steering wheel. And the blessing is we have body cameras now as well. On this side is police, so that's all being recorded in real time. So roll down your windows, light the interior of your vehicle, illuminate the interior of your vehicle, and put your hands on the steering wheel. And guess what? You're going to survive that encounter. How do you advocate for yourself? So smarter and not harder. In that moment, I can start arguing. Why you pull me over? I know this is wrong. You saw I had tinted windows. Not right now. Every vehicle, especially here in the city of Trenton, is marked. That's me pulling you over for the most part. If it's a patrol officer pulling you over, but they also are numbered. Every vehicle has a different number. So if you feel like your rights are being violated, guess what? Thank you, officer. You get the ticket. Prayerfully, you don't get the ticket, or prayerfully is a good exchange. But if it's not, just be patient. Let them pull off. Let's see what the 3 digits are. Because when we clock in, when we log in, to our shift on the computers, we have to input the vehicle number. So we can always go back and see who were driving that vehicle. Also, our name, right? Visible for public. So you ain't even got to say, what's your badge number? And being, getting upset and screaming. Guess what? Look, it's literally on their vest. So you're going to remember, even notate the badge number, the last name, and the vehicle number, right? And now you can advocate for yourself, but not right there. I always say, don't become Johnny Cochran on the scene. It ain't going to end well for you. I can promise you that. However, you have patience, you can be able to advocate for yourself in a smarter way. So I like to always throw that out there because some folks feel like in the moment I have to fight the system. You ain't going to be able to beat the system in that moment. The way you beat it is by gathering details and advocating for yourself in a different way. And so that's my perspective as someone in, that's 37 years old living right now in 2025. All right. So you want to, Mr. Daniels, I know you had to go for another obligation. I'm going to ask, you want to stay for the last question or you want to head out?
I want to hear the last question.
All right. Now, I'm not speaking this on y'all. However, I thought this was a really good question. If you died tomorrow, what would you have passed down to this generation? What would you say? If you could be able to, if we had to write your obituary tomorrow, a young man, a mentee, had to write your obituary, what would he say about you? What have you done for us, this generation?
Were you talking about my nieces and nephews?
All of them, all my cousins, yes.
I don't think anybody here got anything close to the nieces and nephews that I have. I try to instill in them to be the best person they can be. I help them go to school. Whenever they needed something like books or whatever I could do to help. That's what I done in my neighborhood. That's why I raised money for stuff like that. Because I want to see young blacks, I want them to prosper and grow, but I want them to be respectful. And I want them to love each other and make sure you love your people. So you can't work with your people. So that's what I want them to do. I want them to be the best person that they can be at whatever they can be. And I want them to do good and look out and help each other and do God's will.
Okay.
See, if they could just do some of God's will, you don't have to be a preacher to do some of God's will.
Amen.
And if you can do some of God's will, then mankind will appreciate you.
Amen.
That's how I feel.
You a natural.
Over my lifespan, I put a lot because I was here nigga in charge.
Okay.
So I had the opportunity to do
HNIC.
it, and I took it. But my rule was this: I'm gonna treat you just like you treat me. You treat me with ill respect, that's gonna be your clock, because I'm gonna still be on it.
Right.
Okay? These are the rules, this is what you're supposed to do. You always hope that you're remembered for that because of the fact that I dealt with a lot of family and put them to work, and they were still in high school, you know, or something like that, just to put some money in their pocket, and even with my son, you came to work with me so that you knew that when you got the piece of paper and your name was on it, the only thing, don't ask me for gas money, don't ask me for this, that, and the other, because I'm gonna tell you what, I put you in the dish room and you sweated the whole time you were there, so you need to respect what you got in your hand, because you earned it.
Yeah.
So I hope that, you know, we all hope that, you know, we are remembered for the things we did, but the things I did from my heart. It wasn't for glory or this, that, and the other. You know, my father-in-law, I'll never forget, he said, well, you know, when I leave out the door, everybody leaves out the door. So I took that from him, and when I left out the door on the weekend, everybody left out the door. And if we had a catering job, everybody
They all went.
picked up a basket or a crate, because this is where the money was. When you work for yourself, this is when you make money.
Yeah.
Okay? And when you work for somebody else, I worked for Blue Cross and Blue Shield at the time, but the money was from the catering. Always was. And my family, my kids were right there. They knew how to grate the cheese for the macaroni and this, that. But I wasn't playing.
Yeah.
You don't teach them, who's gonna teach them?
Amen.
Okay, you want the goose down coat, and you want this, you want that, you want the other. You know, my wife was a very successful musician.
Yeah.
But you still brought your behind out there with me.
Okay.
Okay, you couldn't go in that shop. You don't know about those chemicals, but I'm gonna teach you about these dishes.
Okay. All right. I like that. That's what.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Let's see. I've been surprised and blessed by the reaction of family and friends and students to me. I really have. I've been very blessed. When I was telling you my name, James Went the Third, one of my nephews was having a boy, and he asked me for permission to name him after me. And I was surprised, pleasantly surprised, because I have 26 nieces and nephews, you know, and he's got, 8 uncles and 4 nieces, 4 aunts. So why he picked me out, now I'm the oldest, but why he picked me out, I was surprised, because he lives in Pennsylvania, I live here in New Jersey, and all, you know, the distance and everything. And but he picked me out to name the son after. So that was a compliment, and I told him I was honored to do that. One of the things he told me, he said, "You have class." And again, I got that from my uncle and my grandmother, because they taught us how to deal. They taught us respect for people. And I remember a student that I ran into in my apartment building. I didn't even know who he was. Aren't you Mr. White? We went through all of that. Yes. And one of the things, compliment he paid me was so surprising for me. He told me that I was kind to them. And I was surprised. Not that I'm a mean person, but I was surprised that came out. I think that was because I care about the students. I cared about them. And so that came out. And like I said, I'm very honest with them, and also I'm reliable. I have students now that have been retired, have gone for 20 years, still call me up and want to go out to lunch or take me to dinner, something like that. So I guess my legacy is communication, hopefully inspiration, hopefully, and be who you are.
Right.
Be who you are. Believe in yourself, and you can make things happen. It's amazing. If you believe in yourself, you can make things happen. You know, and so I think that's one of the
I think that's amazing. So for me, obviously, my legacy is still, I'm still building. You all are retired. But if I were to die tomorrow, I would hope that, you know, I have inspired, you know, youth, those who are younger than me, to want to reach for higher heights. Just what's happening right now. I was talking to my campaign manager, and you know, just looking at where we are from where we started. Like we started actually campaigning like back in May, right? And we started working our way around, and I'm like, wow, look where we are. You know, people see me out in the community and they say like, I believe in you, and I'm like, I mean, I know that I'm doing positive things, but when people actually say, I believe in you, like that means something, right? But I don't take it lightly. But whenever I have an opportunity, I'm there. I'm there to help people. When that young man walked in, you know, today, I couldn't just be quiet. He said that he has started his own production company. He's renting space in this building. So I'm like, well, I know I'm busy, but I know there are other men that look like him that want to help and who actually will help. That's why I connected him. So you'll find that when I worked in corrections, I'm now in police. People are still calling me today from who are entering the corrections process, and I'm walking them through that process. And I'm usually, you know, my campaign manager laughs when we're on the phone. We talk, of course, all day now as we're preparing for something, but I'm very detail oriented. So I'll talk and talk and talk, and she'll be like, Corey, you could have said that in 2 minutes. It took you 10. But I'm very detailed when I explain things. But I walk people through the entire process because I want you to get what I didn't get. Oftentimes I say, and I say this loosely because my family gave me what they could, right? So, but there were limitations to what they could give me because they hadn't been exposed. So in certain areas, I always say, I wish I had a person to do this for me. And God will remind me that when you don't have an example, you become the example, right? So even as I'm navigating this space right now in politics, sometimes I'll say, I wish I had an uncle who I could call on and he could make some phone calls and make it happen. But I think I appreciate it more because I'm doing the work. I'm making those phone calls. I had the courage to stand in certain spaces to walk in as if, I was already known before I came in, even though no one knows who I am. So I'm not afraid to do it, but I'm also building. I'm inspiring others to do the same thing, right? And so we'll end with that. But I think it's so important that we allow, you all allowed us as a youth to stand on your shoulders, and now I have to start making sure the ones coming behind me can see the example, right? Because at this point, like I said, I don't have the person, an uncle, or even my father who is politically known to call on and say, make this happen. I got to make it happen on my own. But I know in the end, I'll appreciate it more once I get there, because I will get there, let's be clear. I'll be able to say, I worked hard for this. And therefore, I'll appreciate it more while I'm there, because it's not just given to me.
Well, right now, what this town needs more so than anything else is you as a young man winning that election.
Amen. Amen.
That's what
humbly.
That's
and
leading by example.
Right.
And to go out and tell your story, I did this, I did that, because you can use I in that interaction because of the fact that you got up off your behind and did what you had to do. And the only way you were going to get from A to B, you had to get up off your behind and do what you had to do to get there. We couldn't do it for you. She can't do it for you. You have certain things you got to do for yourself.
Yeah, but sometimes when you take on the great battle, sometimes things don't go your way. You're going to sit down and you're going to begin to wonder and ask yourself, am I doing the right thing? Should I continue with this? I think I'm getting tired. But then that's where you hear my voice.
Okay.
Why you getting tired and you 37 years old? Man,
Right.
if you don't get up from now,
keep going.
let's go. We got work to do.
Work to do.
Let's go. That's the kind of man I'm looking to be. So those are the kind of men that I've always backed. I don't like a lazy man. I really don't like a lazy man. and I really don't like a man that feels sorry for himself or have a pity party.
Yeah.
Stay wherever you are. Stay.
Right.
Stay. As long as you out there fighting, I'll fight right there. I'll stand right there with you. We'll just go down together.
Right.
As long as I know you're going to be there, I'm going to try to be there with you.
Wow.
So we got to fight. Are you ready for it?
Amen. Yes, absolutely.
That's all I got to
Without
say.
sacrifice, nobody gets ahead.
That's all I got to say.
You gonna close this out?
Yes, I am. I'm going to close y'all out. Excuse me. Clap it up for them, everybody. Clap it up for the gentlemen. Thank y'all so very much for being a part of the panel. Thank you. Yes, I'm just going to thank y'all.
Okay.
Just thank y'all real quick. Thank you.
Okay, darling.
Thank you. So we're going to close out in prayer. You know, we look right here. Everyone, thank y'all so very much for staying in tune. Clap it up one more time. Thank y'all for coming out. Thank y'all for watching. You gentlemen, y'all did a fabulous job. We're going to talk again about coming back again in 2026. We always meet every first Sunday here. We have our vendors in the back. Hey, y'all. So y'all just gonna come and do some shopping. Come out to Hub 13 right now and pick up some of these last minute great shopping gifts right now here at Hub 13. But we just want to say thank you again, gentlemen, for doing what you're doing. We want to close out in prayer. Do anyone want to lead us out in prayer?
Okay, I'll pray.
See your spiritual limits.
Yes, let's see. All right, let's bow our heads. Father God, we come to your throne of grace and mercy, thanking you right now, God, for this conversation today, God. I thank you for allowing me to be in this space with elders, God. Men who have been through the struggle and they've survived, God. I thank you for allowing them to be in this space. I thank you for their encouragement. I thank you for allowing them to raise their hand and saying, I will help you. God, I thank you for Yolanda, for bringing us together, God, for she had no idea that this was going to be such an amazing conversation. God, I ask that as we depart from this building, that you would give us traveling mercy as we go back to our homes, God. Allow us to be encouraging to others. And in areas where there are deficits, God, for all of us, send somebody to fill that void, Lord. We thank you. You're amazing. We're looking forward to 2026. God, I pray that I have a successful campaign and election, God. And more importantly, let's remove God, and allow us to be able to come together collectively as a community to be able to help the people that really need it, God. The ones who are really suffering, Lord. The ones who really feel as though they don't have a voice. Those are the ones we got to fight for, God. We ask this right now in your son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. And with that being said, we are out. Peace. Happy holidays. And y'all know my favorite song. La, 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 la. Clap it up, y'all. Clap it up.
All right. How was that?
That was